preacher said, well, I'm a failure, and they started from that position, God could help them. But if you start at the wrong position, and you won't come to honesty and truth, God can't meet your need. Because He's laid down principles by which He'll move in your life. We all need to come to a place of saying, we can't do anything. And once you come to that place of realizing you're an utter failure, then there's hope for you. And without that, there's no way. Now, God's very gracious with some of you. He's actually put you in a situation and kept you there, right in His little corner, pummeling at you, until with your last gasp of desperation you said, I can't go on. And at that point, you've actually admitted you're a failure. But God has had to do some very deep dealings with you. Now, it is far more sensible and realistic to admit it in the first place. But we humans have our pride and our self-esteem and our whatever you call it, and we don't like to face the truth. Let me give you a little for instance. There was a man called Muhammad Ali. I don't know if you know Cassius Clay. Now, he was a very good boxer in his day. And there were other men that were foolish enough to think they were as good as him. And they stepped into the ring with him, and some of them got carried out. Now, they realized at the point of getting carried out that they weren't as good as he was. Now, myself, I never felt I was as good as him. And there was no way I would ever have stepped into a ring with him. Because I just know that, I wouldn't have lasted too long. I reckon even if I'd run as quick as I could, he'd have caught me sometime, and that would have been that. Bosh. Now, I mean, it's total stupidity would be to step in, but we step in against the devil. We'll step in and then we kind of spar a few times. We reckon we can sort ourselves out. I'm, wicked man Bernard Shaw, he said he didn't need any booking, and he said, I don't need anyone. I thought, well, I'll find it my way. I thought of Frank Sinatra when he said that. I'll do it my way. I thought, you don't know what you're up to, laddie. I can find it. Well, I want to tell you something. I came to a conclusion that I couldn't. There came a day in my life when I said, like this thief on the cross, I said, well, I'm getting everything I deserve. My problems are my fault. They don't belong to anyone else. I deserve them. Have you got there yet? Have you actually faced the reality that all your problems and difficulties are there because you deserve them? Have you stopped labeling them off onto other people or other situations or other circumstances and said, I'm here, God, because I deserve it? And then he did something else. He acknowledged God. And he said, this man has done nothing amiss. He suddenly realized, Jesus, he doesn't deserve this. I do, he doesn't. He realizes there's a substitute. Christ died without sin. And he acknowledged it. And then he does something even more amazing. And he said unto Jesus, Lord. Now here's Jesus nailed to a wooden cross, and he begins to call him Lord. He bows to his sovereignty. He bows to his kingship and he begins to call him Lord. Now the whole of creation and the whole of the world and everyone else is mocking Jesus. This man says Lord. All the circumstances seem to say Jesus is defeated. This man says Lord. Then he says something very amazing. He says, remember me when you come into my kingdom. Thy kingdom. Now he's acknowledging that Jesus is a king. Isn't it? It's his kingdom. If you have a kingdom, you have a king. And he's saying it's your kingdom. Remember me when you get there. So he acknowledges that Jesus is king. Now how did he get to that understanding as he was groaning in agony upon a cross? Have you ever wondered that? What actually made him realize? Where did the revelation come from of those things? How did he even know that Jesus was a king? Do you know how he knew? Yeah. It was written. That's right. If you look up in verse 38, you'll see, and a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is King of the Jews. Now this man, you remember that the priests tried to get Pilate to change it, didn't they? But God knew about the thief who was going to be next to Jesus on the cross, and he knew that thief needed to know. Now that thief had lived a terrible life, he'd been a wicked man, he'd mocked Jesus when he first came, and as he was nailed to the cross and as he was put there and he saw Jesus suffering, he looked and he saw a sign above him, King of the Jews, and the Holy Ghost spoke to his heart. And the second thing he did, he heard Jesus pray, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.